What's up, guys? It's Ricken, and today we're going to have some fun. We're going to talk about wholesaling pre-foreclosures, and I find this as a topic, actually, people like to talk about pre-foreclosures, but they don't actually tell you how to wholesale a pre-foreclosure. And I love this part of the business. And I'm going to tell you the good with the bad, because there's so much opportunity here, but you have to understand it. You got to understand what the pitfalls are in it, what the challenges you're going to face when wholesaling it, and you got to understand the really big opportunity in it. And that's what we are going to jump on today. And I have done, I wish I could count how many of the pre-foreclosures, but a lot. I mean, well over 500 just in the pre-foreclosure category. So we're going to actually go in and define everything, what a pre-foreclosure is. And I'm going to show you, I promise, if you stay with this video, I'm going to show you the sweet spot, the opportunity. And most importantly, I think you'll learn here is you're going to learn the types of pre-foreclosures to avoid. The time suckers, the ones that will just talk you to death, but they're never going to do a deal with you. Guys, I had a 5-year journey doing those types of deals, and I am all about it. So and you want to focus on wholesaling pre-foreclosures, I will give you the tips that you're never going to get from the gurus without paying a ginormous program. And honestly, most of them don't have nearly the experience I do. Well, a majority of them. There are exceptions to the rule. So guys, if you like this comment, if you like this type of videos, do me a favor, make sure you smash that like button. Oh boy, a lot of people on today. Make sure you smash that like button, and make sure the like button, because that helps people get in contact with this information. So we define what a pre-foreclosure list. So let's just go through the simple mechanics of how to do it, so you guys don't overanalyze it, because most of you way overanalyze this. And I'm going to give you the kind of the easy parts of it. So number one, if you want to get in doing pre-foreclosures, you just got to get the list. And here's the good news. This is the easiest list of them all to get. The easiest. You can get them at your physical courthouse. You can physically pull them. They actually post them up on boards in my courthouse. And that's how I learned to start doing it. Fast forward 20 years from when I started in 2003, you can get a majority of them online. So you will not get resistance here. I'm just telling you, this list is extremely public. They can't hide it. That's the point of a foreclosure, to make the homeowner take action, either get their mortgage caught up and get it corrected, or get the property sold. The whole point of a foreclosure is make it very, very public, because that's when you get a mortgage, there is an obligation with it. So number one, getting a list. We're not even talking about getting a list. It's too easy. If you need help getting a pre-foreclosure list, we got to talk, because you don't have to know anything about wholesaling. Anybody can get this list. The next step on the list, I know this is like cookie cutter, but it's just make contact with them. How you make contact is completely up to you. I highly recommend cold calling. In the old days, I did the door knocking thing, and I kind of liked it because it toughened me up super quick. If you've ever been rejected with door-to-door sales, which I did a lot when I was young, because I always felt I wanted to have unlimited learning opportunities. I just found wholesaling later in my life. It really toughens you up. So you can simply skip trace their number. You can use truepeoplesearch.com free, or you can go to listrei.com and you can find the phone number. It's not hard to find these people. I'm just telling you. And there's not like 400 people on this list. Once you do it, you're going to reach out and you're going to talk to them, make contact. I know this is like super basic, and I'm just going through the mechanics, and I'm going to give you the secrets to it. And at this point, nope, I'm going to put this one up. You're going to write an offer and calculate. And this is where a lot of you guys get stuck. Like, how do I know how to make a correct offer on pre-foreclosure? So number one, you have to qualify your pre-foreclosures. You're going to have to spend a lot of time, and I'm going to go into details of the pitfalls on this. So a lot of people avoid pre-foreclosures because they feel like the amount of drama and energy they have to deal with people is annoying. And I get it. And it is. And I'm going to go over that. But here's what happens is, when it comes down to say they're motivated and they want to sell, is a lot of times you don't know how to make the offer. So number one, you've got to know what they owe on their mortgage. How do I get that information? Number one, you can find it on listrei.com, or ask them. It's not hard. Just ask the seller. They typically know. Now, if they owe 150 grand on their mortgage and they've missed 3 payments and each payment's $1,000, I would add that 3 grand on top of it. I want to be ultra conservative in my number. And the further you get along with it, once it gets past 6 months, you got to add like another 5 grand for like attorney's fees on it. So add the numbers up and then figure it out. So if they, and remember, the longer they've owned the property, sometimes they pay it down. They just got behind. So you have to find out what the debt obligation is on the property to figure out. A lot lot of pre-foreclosures I deal with, a lot of them, like the seller's getting very little to no money. The sooner they contact with you, the more options you're going to have with it. And then once you make that offer and you're helping them solve a problem, it is your obligation to track this foreclosure, pre-foreclosure. Why? Because you don't want a auction date to sneak up on you. Sometimes it takes time to get them out of the property, get your cash buyer in there, and you have to track it, because if you fall asleep, I fell asleep at a lot of them when I first started this. I didn't understand the auction was coming up 3 months later, and I waited around and I lost out on my deal. So what I want you guys to understand right now, that's just the mechanics. And honestly, you can get any of that information on the internet. I promise you, I didn't blow you away with that content. That's 95% of what you're going to get in a guru course. And you paid for that information. That's the sad part. So let's talk about how this really works. So I'm going to teach you what we call the sweet spot. You ready? This is my 20 years summation of pre-foreclosure. And if you pay attention here carefully, you will know how to deal with anybody in a pre-foreclosure, and you can evaluate if it's worth investing your time and see if it's something that you can help out with. So the sweet spot, and it's called the sweet spot. So if you guys are okay, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and I'm going to show you the graphic. And I've already pre-written it up, so I don't waste time going over this. So actually writing it out. So I know I should have been a doctor with my handwriting, but it is what it is. So if you see on here the pre-foreclosure, so this is where you start with a homeowner when they start to get in default. And the numbers just represent the months they get behind. So you see this highlighted area, I call it the action zone. This is the sweet spot for pre-foreclosures. Why? Because here's what happens. If you've ever had a debt obligation and you started to miss payments, I know I have when I was a lot younger. I was terrible with this. Once you get that first notice, it's shocking. You're like, oh my God, they're going to take the house. What are we going to do? You have difficult conversations with the family, and just you're petrified. The anxiety takes over. And usually by they get the second notice, because it turns like colors. And I always knew when I got to the red notice, I'm in trouble. And usually the red notice will wind up by around month 3. Now in the first month or so, they might just get like a letter and an email. By month 2 and 3, they're getting hardcore phone calls in the evening, and there's people really pushing them. If you don't do something, we're going to have to file what we call, and usually around, now this isn't exact science, but usually between 3.5 months and 5 months, they go for what they call a notice of default. And without getting into legal terminologies, it's just a legal notice like you're in default. We now want to move forward and file a court action. I'm not going to get the legalities of it because I am not a lawyer, and I really don't care about that part. And remember, you need to research your state laws when it comes to foreclosure, because all states are a little bit different. So there's all different types of legal definitions. I don't want to do that video because that's a video in its entire self, and I prefer a lawyer to do it than me. But most lawyers are going to put you to sleep. So let's face it, by month 3, maybe you call it 4, I call it 3.5 months. If you can't get somebody in pre-foreclosure to take action here, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. It's like, because here's what happens. They cross over this thing, and what are they? It's the river, you know that fancy river over in Denial? It's called the denial zone. And what happens, they go, well, it's been 3 months. They haven't taken the house, honey. Let's just sit tight and not pay the mortgage. This is a pretty good deal for us. And when you catch them in this denial zone, it's torture. This is what we call the friend zone. And you know what I'm talking about with this. It's that person you want to date, but they don't want to date you, and they keep you on standby, and they keep you a close friend and tease you. Guys, if you get stuck in this stage, move on. It's not going to work out. You cannot force a deal. You cannot make them do it. And if you avoid the denial zone, the friend zone, you will be very successful with pre-foreclosures. And this part is what takes most wholesalers out. Guys, I'm giving you my visual picture of what happens. Nobody shares this in courses because they run you over with go get the list, get a contract, write an offer, sell it to a cash buyer. That's all correct. But here's the data of 20 years to tell you, if you get in this sweet spot, you've got to just move on. Listen, give me a call if something changes. Now, here's what's going to happen. If you can't get a deal here, then you can go find other people that want to work with you. And this is when procrastination kicks in its highest form, and they will use you like a wet, dirty rag. And I don't want, guys, you didn't get in this business to have someone drag you through the mud and never do a deal with you. And then what happens is, I call this the Hail Mary zone. Right before the property goes to auction, hey, Rick, I'm ready to do a deal with you. I got to work with you. We got to get it done. Great. Let me run some. No. We got to do a deal today. I need it done today. Well, what's going on? I have an auction in 3 days. And every time, and by the way, you will get hammered with them in the Hail Mary zone. And I'm here to tell you, unless you have a lot of experience, you have a team, and you have some sort of legal help, this is a hard way to do a deal as a new investor. I would tell you avoid it. You'd be better off pairing up with someone in your market that has money, has a lawyer on hand, and a lot of times you have to fund a lawyer just to save off the auction date. Now, I'm not saying you can't do it, but as a beginner strategy, it is a nightmare. And then you guys are going to run around with your head cut off here, and you're not going to make any money. And you know what? The reality of this situation right here is there's no money left in the deals. They've ran it up. They haven't made payments in almost a year. The lawyer's fees are out of control. There's court fees, and a lot of these properties wind up in what we call the short sale zone, which I've done a lot of videos on short sales. I'm just telling you, trying to do a short sale right before an auction date is a nightmare. And honestly, short sales are a nightmare to begin with anyways. I could go through the history of short sales because I've done over 300 of them. But like today's environment, short sales, it's a pain in the butt. And I don't highly recommend it to you because you have to work with realtors in the whole 9 yards. So guys, focus in on the action zone. So if you're targeting pre-foreclosures, the sooner you can catch them, the better your odds of having success. If you just get one thing from this video, take it, guys, because it is a game changer. I hate that word. I apologize for using it. I know it's a guru word, but I'm just telling you, this piece of data right here is 20 years of me busting my butt with people in pre-foreclosure. Do not get caught in that denial zone. And when it comes to the Hail Mary stage, there's only so much you can do. I always tell people at the Hail Mary stage, are you willing to fund a lawyer? And if you're not, I cannot do it for you. Now, I do work in the Hail Mary stage because I'm very good. I know the attorneys, I know the judges, but like it's 20 years experience. So if you just started today, I don't want you in the Hail Mary zone. And you're going to get all excited. Let me know in the comments, anyone's ever got excited when someone called me and go, oh my God, they want to do a deal with me. They want to do a deal with me. Yeah, but like it's 3 days from auction. Are you willing to fund $1,500, $2,000 just to try to even stop it? And even that is a risky deal. So typically you have people that are going to put up money and risk with it. And I'm here to tell you, you want to really avoid this. So here's the downside. There's a lot of drama with pre-foreclosures because keep in mind, the real estate is just an asset. It's a number. The reality of what we do as wholesalers is we deal with human problems and we deal with the human emotion more than anything. And you are solving not their personal problems, but how it ties to the real estate. And the real estate's usually their biggest problem because it's their biggest asset. And you're going to get a lot of drama. So when you deal with people in pre-foreclosure, your listening skills have to be incredible. 80-20 is a given. I'd almost switch it to 90-10. So if you cannot deal with listening to people's problems, don't get in the pre-foreclosures because it is exhausting. And some of you, like if you're a lot like me, it's like I feel for these people. Like I hurt when they hurt. And I know like, oh, we got to be businessmen and separate, but like here's the reality is we're all human beings. I mean, I've heard about like every horror story, it's challenging. And you've got to understand there is a lot of drama. And if you're a cold person and you're very calculated, it's hard in pre-foreclosures because you're going to have to meet somewhat of their emotional dumpage when they do it. So what you have to do is take that information. You have to be empathetic. You have to be understanding. And then you have to help track them, give them a solution. And it is overwhelming sometimes. So some of them just don't work. Some of them have no money and you got to know that up front when you underwrite the deal. And then the biggest thing we have to deal with is procrastination. And I just gave you the cure for it. It is avoid the friend zone, avoid the I'm not going to take any action, the denial zone, because that is where I used to just pull my hair. And so my hair's turned a lot grayer since, but I'm not complaining because I do have hair, so I'm okay with it. So it's something, people can't control, but I'm here to tell you, you've got to understand how it works. And procrastination is what you're dealing with. Everybody in pre-foreclosure, they always think they have more time. They always think they have an out and a solution. And no matter what you say, you can't change them in the procrastination mode. So what do? You just go, hey, let me know if anything changes. You can send in a follow-up email. Just do not spend all your energy and go back and focus in on the action zone because those are the people that want to do a deal with you. Okay. You have to focus on solutions. You have to. Like people like, oh, if I could just get a moving truck, if I could do this. I find pre-foreclosures, those are the ones that you have to solve a lot of problems. Sometimes transportation. I can't tell you how many people I gave a ride to a title company to get it done. And And I don't recommend doing that now. In today's age, I would get an Uber or a Lyft because the liability if you get an accident is problematic. Now, back then, I did whatever I had to do. Just like most of you will do whatever you have to do to get a deal. Like that's what I did. But like you have more options now. My wife used to complain, she's like, why does the car smell so bad? I'm like, I had to take his dog. I had to bring the cat. Like, I was like, why did you do that? I go, look in the bank account and I'll tell you why. She's like, oh, okay, never mind. And it's so funny how we have to rationalize what we do in wholesaling. It's just, I love it. So let's get to the final part of this because I'm trying to make this short and sweet today. I love pre-foreclosures, just understanding, knowing what you're getting into. If you're not good at listening people, these are the most dramatic type of sellers you will ever deal with. And I understand if you've ever been behind on, if you've ever had the fear of losing your own home, it sucks. So it's like, I'm just telling you, you don't want to be there and you want to help people. And if you're very mechanical, like if you're a cold call and you're calling like 1,000 like FSBOs, you have to be mechanical. But when it comes to pre-foreclosures, you have to slow it down. Guys, just like I teach you on probates, he or she who listens the most in probates wins. Like that's it. Pre-foreclosures, it's a little bit different because probates, you already know what the predominating problem is. There's been a death in the family and all you can do is sit back and listen. So if you've ever been in this situation, all people want to do when they reach out to you is they just want someone to talk to. So what are their choices? They got their family. Let's face it, family don't listen. Well, my family's not watching. Number two, they can go to a therapist, but that's going to cost a couple $100 an hour and most people don't have the money to pay for it. Or maybe this guy that says he can help out in foreclosure can help me out, or this gal. And you have to become like that person because the minute you do not engage and listen to them, they're going to find someone that will help them out. So you've got to understand that getting into that, and that's what you want to do. So let's talk about the final part, the huge advantage of pre-foreclosures. So obviously there can be a ton of money on them. Some of them get a little bit skinny. Some have no money in it at all. It's up to you to determine by calculating what the debt on the property is. It's very public information. And then you just got to run your comp numbers. So you can use Zillow, you can use Trilio, you can use listrei.com, whatever you're comfortable with. Guys, you don't have to pay for these services. It's all at your fingertips. When I started wholesaling, I had none of this. I had to go sit with a real estate agent every time. It was painful. It was hard, but I learned to develop. But as much as I complain about it, it taught me how to build relationships with realtors. And I was secretly building a skill that was going to make me a lot of money. But at the time, I just didn't feel like I was getting anywhere. So let's talk about the biggest advantage. Here it comes. Time. When you catch a pre-foreclosure in the action zone, the first 3 months, when they sincerely want to do a deal with you and they just want to put it to bed, and that's most people I do in pre-foreclosure, you can usually give them some money with it. You give them a ton of dignity and you give them time to get out of the property. The force of a bank seizing an asset and having the sheriff come and kick him out of the house is horrifying, especially people who have family, who have a children. I get it. Like people have tough times. Like we need to help each other out as human beings. And what better way as a wholesaler to do this? And when you get them and they want to take action, go, Rick, I just want to be done with it. If you could just give me like $3,000 or $5,000, sometimes you give them $20,000 or $30,000 because the numbers really make sense. And I believe taking care of everybody with a win-win-win situation. And if you're going to be one of those wholesalers that goes, man, I can make 150 grand because they'll take 3 grand, you're not doing it the right way because it's going to come back and bite you in the butt. So we want to help people out. If they catch them in the action zone, they have a million options. And that's where we explain our services. If you decide to enter an agreement with now, I can probably get you X amount of money up front. I can probably get you an additional 2 to 3 months to stay there. And then we'll save your credit. You'll get this foreclosure behind you. And then you dictate when you leave. You see, when you give them that kind of language, they're like, holy moly, I have options. And so that's the advantage to your sellers in pre-foreclosures. Now, let's talk about the advantage to the wholesaler. Time. Oh my God, when you catch them in the action zone, when you guys have properties under contract and you only have 7 or 14 days to sell it, it's stressful. It sucks. There's no other word for it. In an agreement with you and they need 3 months to move out, you got 3 months to find a cash buyer. How hard can it be, guys? Unless you're way overpaying for the property, this is actually really easy. And I can't tell you what a luxury it is as a a new wholesaler to have this, because most of your guys' problem is you don't have cash buyers and you don't know how to do it. And trying to get a cash buyer in 2 weeks or 30 days it just seems like an overwhelming task. If you do pre-foreclosures and you catch them in the action zone, 3 months or less, you have a lot of time. Now, don't take advantage of it. I've seen wholesalers take 6 months to a year. That's not fair. Remember, you're there to create a win-win for everyone. It's not Rick wins and everybody else loses. It's, hey, they get out of foreclosure, they get some money, I give them a little bit of time, I get some more time because I'm not experienced and I have more leniency with bringing cash buyers in there. And then the cash buyer gets a good deal because he or she's going to be patient too, and they're getting a wonderful deal. That's what we call a win-win-win. That's how I operate. I can't tell you, man, in my local market and so many, the national markets, I talk to so many, just unfortunately, I'd like to tell you that's the truth, but the reality of what's going on in wholesaling with a lot of the teachings going out there, we are trying to ignore the human factor. And if you want to be a robot and a businessman, please stay out of wholesaling, because it's just not going to work for you. It's not a mechanical number. I had someone tell me that I'm going to do all 50 states. I'm like, go for it. I've never seen anybody do it before. So that's everything with like pre-foreclosures. Please understand, if you have a question today, let's talk about it.